Before the age of back-to-back teen media that had to do with the apocalypse, there was a webcomic that did the same exact thing that took over the whole entire internet, started a whole new age of fandom culture, and made people ridiculously afraid of buckets. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Homestuck lore, how I fell in love with Homestuck, why I decided to revisit Homestuck in the year 2024, and practically everything there is to know about Homestuck. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching. Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you've ever seen my face, hello, hi. Typically I make videos relating to all of my favorite pieces of media, as well as just generally talking about social issues in our society. Like I said in the intro, today we are going to be talking about Homestuck, but before we do that, I want to share all of the cool items my friend Eridan sent me and practically let y'all know what's going on. If you guys don't know anything about me, you should know that I'm a huge Jujutsu Kaisen stan, and so Harry sent me a bunch of cool items that you can get too by checking out her shop. So this right here is a Inumaki bonnet. He is the character that's always talking about some tuna in Jujutsu Kaisen, as well as sending me this cool necklace that says sorcerer, and she also sent me these cool lashes you guys are seeing, as well as this beautiful glass color that you guys can get from her shop. I will be putting the link to her shop in the description box as well as the comment section. But now let's really talk about what y'all want to know, and that is the whole bizarre thing that is Homestuck. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wrote so much about the lore of Homestuck, and there's just a lot that we have to go over, so excuse the fact that I am reading off my script, and excuse the fact that I'm in a new filming location, which is my parents' bedroom. My parents refused to change the batteries in the fire detector, so y'all gonna have to deal with that annoying noise. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. So the hardest part about making this video was I didn't know how to summarize the whole entire plot of Homestuck, because if you have followed Homestuck and are a Homestuck fan like me, you know that the whole entire journey of Act 1 to Act 6 was so complicated. So many characters were introduced, so many concepts were introduced, so I just found it extremely hard to put everything together in a way that made sense. So practically, forgive me if I forget anything, but let's get started, because I feel like I'm gonna miss stuff, but hey, I'm gonna make sure y'all get the gist. So Homestuck is a random accumulation of so many different plot points, but overall it was a very popular webcomic started by the author slash artist Andrew Hussie. They came out in, I believe, 2022 with they them pronouns, so I'm just going to be using that in order to reference, Andrew Hussie. So this comic was posted on the website known as MS Paint Adventures, and this is the website that everybody will flock to in order to see the webcomic and the corresponding flash videos as well. This was a relatively new concept to me, because when I have looked at other webcomics at this time, which was in middle school, all of the webcomics were just regular comic panels. The introduction of videos as well as all of these animated GIFs really made Homestuck stand out against all of the other people who were doing webcomics at the time. And so overall, Homestuck was great, and I feel like you could still get into it now, but what made the Homestuck fandom and reading the Homestuck comics so good was at the time that it was released, everybody was so into it, so you can't really get the same vibe of Homestuck without having all of the internet hype that came with the Homestuck phenomenon that happened in 2009. So the Homestuck comic originally ran from April 13th, 2009 to April 13th, 2016, meaning that we almost had a decade's worth of content being released by Andrew Hussie.
The beta timeline.
This comic originally started with 4 teenagers, Rose, John, Dave, and Jade, and all of these friends came together in order to play the game known as Spurb. The game Spurb is very reminiscent of The Sims. For all of my Sims player, comment something, because y'all know we love The Sims, but Spurb is very much like The Sims, but if The Sims could literally cause the apocalypse. Do you guys ever wonder why I don't post more controversial stuff or make longer form videos? Well, this is why. Because of YouTube and the K-pop stans particularly, I got my first ever channel strike. And you might think, damn, what did you do to make them that mad? Well, I still don't know. And even though I appealed it, YouTube said we don't care. And that's why I aggressively want to plug in my Patreon page. Patreon is a website that practically allows creators like me to post their more controversial stuff without YouTube and all of the other sky daddies getting mad at them. So I want to tell you guys all of the fun perks you can get if you subscribe to my Patreon page at Ella Pastoral on Patreon. There is a bunch of things that I particularly give my Patreons, from being involved in polls, as well as having early access to my videos, and I am going to be working on more exclusive videos that I cannot post on YouTube because YouTube hates me. Woo! I have a lot of fun with my Patreons because there is a new feature on Patreon that is a live in-person chat feature that allows you to communicate with me one-on-one that doesn't have to be filtered by YouTube comments or overall the evil YouTube algorithm. So if you want to support me, see me post more videos, see the controversial stuff that YouTube for some reason does not want me to post or for y'all to see, go to Ella Pastoral on Patreon. Thanks to all of my lovely current Patreons that are supporting me through the end times right now. And now let's get back to the regularly scheduled content. And so all of these kids decide to play the beta version of Spurb, not knowing that playing this game is literally going to cause the apocalypse and the death of everybody that they knew and loved. And so while they're playing this game, they start getting endlessly harassed by people who they think are trolls. And these people are trolls, but not trolls in the traditional sense. These group of people that keep harassing them are all of creatures, because they're definitely not humans, called trolls from the planet known as Alternia. And with the introduction and face reveal of these trolls, we get the titular, like, gray skin, orange horned creatures that are representative of the Homestuck fandom. Throughout the entire journey of Homestuck, John and everybody in the main fort continually gets attacked. When their homes are destroyed during the destruction of Earth, the game prompts them to create guardians through their journey. But seeing as they are children, they do not make the best decisions in terms of what they put into this guardian sprite. And so the kids, it's a whole mess, but just know that throughout the entire Homestuck comic, they throw the bodies of their dead friends into these guardian spirits, and it's overall a damn mess. For instance, a whole lot of nonsense happens because of a character known as Jack Noir that I promise came about because of a lack of making good guardians for them. And he has a whole complicated backstory or whatever, but let's move on with the plot. So amongst the people who are harassing them, everybody has a main troll that harasses them. Karkat harasses Dave, Kanaya harasses Rose, and they eventually start dating throughout the comic. Terezi supposedly is Jade's troll, but from me trying so hard to remember, I don't remember that even being a thing. But according to the Wikipedia page, that's what happened, because I promise I don't remember that happening, but there was a variety of fan art. So I don't know, guys, it's been decades at this point. Let's move on. And sadly, the person who harasses John is Vriska, but Vriska honestly is one of the biggest bullies in the entire Homestuck franchise, and so she low-key be bullying everyone, but John is her main victim. So regarding the trolls, they have their own very intricate society, and I feel like in order to really know about Homestuck, you have to really tap into that, because it's one of the things that really made everybody be either in love with Homestuck or really hate Homestuck. So when it comes to the Homestuck trolls that we are accustomed with in like the main beginning half of the comic, there are 12 of them. That's why I said that it's so hard to summarize the plot of it, because there's just so many damn characters. So there are 12 trolls that represent the 12 zodiac signs, and it might sound so silly to you, but that is literally how I learned the other zodiac signs. So I am a Scorpio, so I guess my corresponding troll would be Vriska, but like I said, she's a domestic and interdimensional at that point terrorist. And so I was like, damn it, why can't I get somebody cool like Feferi? Because if you guys can tell, I'm really into the black pink motif. And so I was like, damn it, why can't I have the cool one? And so for the trolls that I'm showing you guys on the screen, these are called the beta trolls, and each of them has an ancestor and a descendant, and I'm pretty sure they called them like dissenters. There's a specific word that the Homestuck fandom uses to represent their ancestors slash descendants, because in the later I'll explain it later, but they have descendants, ancestors. Editor Emma will put the correct title on the screen, but let's get back to the plot, because I really want to follow it chronologically for everything to make sense. So returning back to the plot, these 4 humans get involved in so much nonsense. They get teleported out of Earth because, you know, Earth is literally going through an apocalypse, and each of them gets their own planets that is meant to help them become the best versions of themselves. While they do that, certain members of the troll population, specifically Vriska with her rude ass, is trying to sabotage everything in the kids' timeline. And due to this, they accidentally create a powerful enemy that will literally terrorize them no matter what they do, and it's a mess. Everybody say we hate Vriska in the comments because I hate her. She literally is the cause of like half the problems in this damn series. Okay guys, please excuse the fact that there is now a random background change. I wanted to get more comfortable seeing as this video is gonna literally take forever. But in order to get back to the plot, we need to talk about a creature known as Doc Scratch, I'm pretty sure. So he is a creature that has a gigantic snow globe or white 8-ball as a head, and he is just harassing the kids. He has figured out this unique game concept known as a scratch, and with this ability he will be able to reset the beta kids and the beta trolls timeline. And the reason why he even wants to do this is because the creature Jack Noir, that has his own thing that I don't feel like getting into, is trying to kill him, and Doc Scratch practically wants to do everything in order to save himself. And in the process of doing this, he accidentally sets into motion a plan, and in the process of trying to fight for his life and do the whole scratch mechanism, he accidentally summons Lord English, an evil demonic creature dude who's going to be one of the main antagonists of the later parts of Homestuck. And using the whole scratch mechanism, he resets the kids' timelines, practically causing there to be a new timeline where everybody's parents are switched. So everybody who had their guardians, the mom, dad, grandpa, and big brother characters of the beta timeline, are now the main characters that we see, the alpha timeline. So with the information that Doc Scratch decided to destroy the beta timeline using the scratch mechanism, the kids and the surviving trolls decided to get on a spaceship and leave the broken / abandoned timeline and try to head towards the alpha timeline in order to escape. And during this time we have an intermission where we get a bunch of nonsense going on. We really get to see that Rose eventually turns out to be like her mom, drinking all of the time. It's a mess. It's a bunch of character development, and we are now introduced to the alpha timeline. In the alpha timeline, we see that the original guardians, like the mom character, the dad character, well, not the dad character, the grandma character, the grandpa character, and the big brother character all become main players. So practically there is a switcheroo happening, right? So now we have Rose's mom becoming Roxy. John's dad is not turned into a kid, but his grandma is. Jade's grandpa is turned into Jake, and Big Brother is turned into Dirt. The character known as Jane Crocker is John's grandmother, and we find out that she is actually being raised by Betty Crocker in this universe, but Betty Crocker is like the cake lady from our universe, like, you know, our universe, but in the Homestuck universe, she is masquerading as a sweet, innocent cooking lady, but she is actually the alien from Alternia known as the Condess, who has started an evil baking empire in order to control everybody on the planet Earth. I didn't mention this part because there's just so much to get into if I'm being so serious, but the Condess is Feferi's ancestor, and I'm pretty sure, I want to say Doc Scratch took Feferi's ancestor, put her on Earth for what reason? I don't remember, but let's hop back into what I was saying. This is eventually where I lost interest in the whole entire comic, because this is when we started getting introduced to the cherubs. As soon as those cherubs were introduced, I really stopped caring. The two cherubs are Calliope and Caliborn. They are a alien race that has like a boy twin and a girl twin, and they share the same body, and they fight to see who gets to rule the body, and they are playing their own game of Spurb. And so practically they are the characters that harasses the kids, because if you guys remember in the main timeline, that was the troll's job, but you know Andrew Hussie had to keep it interesting, so that is why the cherubs were introduced. This is where I just honestly stopped reading the comic, if I'm being so honest. So I am definitely going to be using the Wikipedia information to fill in the gaps of knowledge, because I'm telling y'all, like, I don't remember because I stopped reading about there. So after the scratch timeline, Jane Crocker, who is supposedly the ancestor of John, his late grandmother to be specific, is now the new protagonist, and she has friends Roxy, Dirk, and Jake. And while the main four kids are having their own game of Spurb, Calliope and Caliborn are having their own game as well, but Calliope is literally in danger because her brother wants to assassinate her in order to make the game easier because he is an asshole. So finally, after they are united, because I told you during like the 3-year intermission, the beta kids are traveling through dimensions trying to get to the alpha session. They finally get there after all this while, and the kids and the trolls enact a plan to create a new universe, defeats Lord English, the Condis, and Jack Noir, because like I said, I don't know if I even said this, Jack Noir was able to escape from the destruction of like the old beta session practically, right? And somehow he has managed to come into the alpha session. That dude refuses to die. So I didn't mention this, but there's a lot of things I'm not mentioning that are coming to me right now. So when you enter Spurb, everybody is given a class spect. I'm definitely going to talk about this concept more in the fandom section of this video, but once you enter the game, everybody is assigned a class and an aspect. It hints to others and yourself what your goal in Spurb is. For example, all the time players are going to be able to manipulate time. All of the space players are able to manipulate space. And time and space are aspects. And depending on what class you are, that's how you're able to manipulate the aspect. So for example, Jade is a witch of space. So Shawty can really like make stuff, build worlds in ish. Like she is that girl. And so John, I'm very sure he is an heir of breath. Let me fact check that. Yeah, for sure. He is definitely heir of breath. He is able to eventually level up himself through doing all of the stuff in the Dream Planet. I forgot to mention there's a Dream Planet. In fact, there's 2 Dream Planets. And overall, he's just able to level himself up to be able to achieve God status. I know. You're probably looking at me like, girl, you have to be so serious. You're not explaining this well. It is a decade's worth of stuff that I'm trying to cram into this little video for y'all. I promise. But due to the fact that John has reached God tier, he is able to retcon previous events that happened in the Homestuck narrative. So then, in the ensuing conflict, John, Roxy, Dirk, and one of the trolls, Terezi, survives. With Terezi's guidance, John retcons key events, mostly Vriska's death, setting a timeline with a clear path to victory. In the retcon narrative, the kids and the trolls defeat their enemies in a gigantic battle and create the new universe. The comic ends with Lord English fighting an army led by Vriska, Caliborn becoming Lord English after gaining unconditional immortality, and the remaining living heroes are about to enter their newly created universe. And I was not here for any of this. If you want like super duper duper ooper duper deep dive, please check out this video. I watched this before I even thought of making this video because I really wanted to see how Homestuck ended. But Lord God, it was a lot. It was a lot. I don't know. I'm telling you, them cherubs had me so disinterested in Homestuck. And it's just so interesting to find out what happened even after Homestuck, because I'm very sure they made a Homestuck 2 where we found out that because Jade is half dog, I'm telling y'all, Homestuck got weird. She's able to do like some Omegaverse freaky stuff, and everybody was shocked because when I heard it, I'm like, you know what? Let me ask no questions. And they even made a Homestuck game called Hive Swap. And what made me so upset, like, yeah, Hive Swap looks cool or whatever, but man, I really wish they would have made a Spurb. Like, when I tell you in the early days of the fandom, like, I was like, this fandom is so big, we gonna get something like that. And it's 2024 and we never got nothing like that. I think there were some fans that made their own Spurb, but they didn't have no funding. Imagine, I would definitely pay and put my money in a Kickstarter for that. And so let's talk about the fandom, because the comic was okay or whatever, but what really made it poppin' is the fandom. So from the gray face paints to the bathtub Sharpie incident, I'm telling you right now, you have heard something relating to Homestuck and Homestucks, right? So I don't think there has been a fandom that has just inspired as much creativity as that of the Homestuck fandom. The basic premise of the Homestuck fandom practically allows anyone to add their own lore via fan theories, fan art, and overall just fandom whimsy. And canonically, it would make sense because Alternia is just like Earth. More than 1,000,000 people. So it literally was like you can add your own flair to Homestuck and it would make sense. The basic premise of Homestuck allowed everybody to add other fandoms to it, which created a lot of fandom whimsy. The basic premise of Homestuck allows anybody to play a forbidden game that destroys their planet. So you could literally put any of your favorite characters from any fandom into a Homestuck type scenario. One of my favorite parts of the early Homestuck fandom most definitely was seeing other people take, like, let's say Dragon Ball Z characters and put them into Homestuck, or Hetalia characters and put them into Homestuck. Whatever fandom idea you could think of, they could put it into Homestuck. And I love seeing people specifically characterize these characters using something called a class spect. I already talked about it a little bit in the summary of the plot because of the fact that eventually if you work hard enough on yourself, you can get to God tier. And so this is a very complicated portion of the comic because there are 12 classes and 12 aspects. And so when you combine all of those together, you have 144 options of what you could possibly be if you play the game of Spurb. And with these classes, you really got to know what the character arc of a character was just by what their class spect was. It was literally such good characterization. I'm going to put a little graph on the screen for you guys, and I want you guys to see what I'm talking about. It's so complicated that if you guys want me to do a whole separate video talking about it, I most definitely will for you guys because it gets that deep. But I want to talk about me. So when I was a kid, I was going through a serious depressive episode because my family life was way worse than what it is now. And when I took the quiz, what class spect are you, I got made a void, which practically means that if I was stuck in the Homestuck game, I would have to spend the whole time learning how to rely on others, hoping that people will keep my secrets, and practically being a loner. And when I took the test like 2 days ago as of me filming this with my friend Dami, hi Dami, I got a new class spec and she got her first class spec. So Dami, she got Air of Hearts, which practically means that she is a super empath, and I got Silt of Breath, which practically means I'm a healer class who values my freedom a lot and doesn't really want to be pinned down. And I really feel like that makes so much sense for me, seeing as I just graduated, so I have officially gotten my bachelor's in nursing, so shout out to my healing class abilities. And I eventually want to be a travel nurse because the idea of staying in one place for so long is not something I'm really into. So for all of the Homestucks out there who had a class spect when they were younger, go take the what class spect am I quiz now and see how much you have changed as a person, because I was literally such a depressed kid. I literally did not think I was going to be able to make it to how old am I, 22 now, because I'm living with my toxic parents. But overall, I feel like life is better. I have a really good support system. I have people who care about me. And so yeah, I know life can be extremely hard sometimes. You really have to think that life gets better, because I mean, for me, my life is definitely better now than when I was in middle school. And so now I want to talk about the shipping. The Homestuck fandom had one of the most unique shipping things or concepts I've ever seen in any other fandoms, and I feel like this was the first time I've ever seen asexual representation because of how this shipping went. So I'm definitely going to be inserting a picture for you guys to see what I'm talking about. But there is a bunch of shipping culture things that are specific to Homestuck that no other fandom has. So we have mate sprites, kissmasses, and I never knew how to pronounce this growing up. It's auspicices. So let me just explain and y'all can come for me in the comments, I guess, for how I'm pronouncing this. So a mate sprite is denoted by a heart. Mate sprites are most closely related to human love, and all of the people in this type of a relationship desire to have physical intimacy with each other, if you guys catch my drift. Feelings between mate sprites have been described both as love and as pity. So then we have like the platonic type of love, which is Moriel. So it may seem like one one partner is more dependent on the other. Morials need each other. Your morial is your safe harbor and should not be taken for granted. And this is where we start to get into the enemies to lover / really toxic ships, which is Christmases. Most closely analogous to an exceptionally potent arch rivalry, and Christmas-tude is based off hate, romantic hate. Not everyone that you hate is your Christmas. It's a very special type of hate. The love hate that makes people want to bone each other. So it's really giving enemies to lovers. But not really, it's giving enemies that are lovers, if you catch my drift. Then we have the auspicize. The reason to auspicize between two Christmases are magnifold. One party already has a Christmas. The Christmas are a bad match. The resulting Christmas-tude will tear apart the surrounding social group. The feelings of the auspice towards the other two can best be described as frustration and as expiration. So practically you have these two people right here that hate each other but want to bone. They want to bone like this, like this. Then you have a person right here who's like, hey, for the love of God, don't kill each other. Don't kill each other. Don't kill each other. And this unique shipping concept practically allowed for people to have a free-for-all. Like, you could literally ship anybody with anybody, because even if they hate each other, there's a category for that. Even if they're friends with someone who hate each other, there's a category for that. Even if they're platonic friends, there's a category for that. And so it was overall a free-for-all in terms of shipping. Now, I want to talk about my personal favorite thing that has come from the Homestuck fandom. And this is the rise and even the subsequent fall of the Homestuck fan comic. I love a good Homestuck fan comic. Because of the fact that Homestuck is kind of a dead fandom, the website, I think it was called MS Paint Adventures, that had all of these fan comics on it. To be honest, I think that website is no longer available to see, and only the super big ones are still on there. But I'm telling you guys, everybody wanted to imagine a world where you could play Spurb with your friends, and I had one, and it was intense. It was extremely intense. I promise on everything, it really was. But I'm not talking about me right now. I'm talking about these fan comics. One fan comic that I promise on everything was so out of pocket was called Kesha Stuck. Kesha Stuck was a fan comic that imagined what would happen if our favorite female musical artist would practically be in a comic together. Kesha, hence the title being called Kesha Stuck, Lana Del Rey and Florence and the Machine. And this was literally such a unique concept. Like, sometimes when it comes to fandom stuff, y'all be really doing your thing, because who thought of that? I mean, Marina and the Diamonds was really leading the charge in terms of her music being used for AMVs. So I get that, but I was like, Florence and the Machine? Where Shawty come from? Where Shawty come from? And I'm just going to be inserting some of my favorite panels, but the unique concepts put onto these Kesha Stuck characters was so unique. I think they even got Hatsuno Miku up in that joint. Like, this is what I'm talking about peak fandom creativity. And the fact that Marina and the Diamonds was eventually turned into a robot, because of the fact that in the early phases of, you know, the concepts that Marina had, she kind of portrayed herself as like an uncaring robot. And so people really took that concept and put it into Homestuck. And the class specs, that was my favorite part. People theorizing about which class specs people would have. I'm telling you, if y'all want a whole separate video on that, you gotta let me know, because I'm telling you, it goes deep. 144 options. And so we have finally gotten to the portion of the video where I can talk about myself. Originally, this video was supposed to be me just talking about my Homestuck fan comics, but y'all wanted to know so much about Homestuck. I was like, damn, let me answer y'all. So as you guys can see, I have two beat up journals, right, that I put all of my Homestuck stuff in. And as you can see by the fact that these are huge and these are thick, your girl was really a Homestuck fan. I'm going to be referring to both these notebooks as well as my Tumblr blog that I made so people could see this fan comic, to let y'all know how serious I was about being a black girl in fandom. Y'all think that little moniker is just for fun, but I'm so dead ass. So practically, right, this is so unserious. We made a Homestuck Tumblr page. It was called Baka Stuck. As you can see, we were gigantic weirdos, because for what reason would we call it baka stuck? I think if, you know, our frontal lobes were even a smidge more developed, we would have gave it a more unique name, because all of the good blank stucks were already taken. Like Kesha stuck, they ate that. What were we going to call ours? And I remember my friend was like, all of our main characters are idiots, so let's just call it idiot stuck. The idiots are stuck. Because Homestuck, I believe the reason why it was called Homestuck is because the kids were stuck in their home and they needed to escape an ish. We didn't have a lot of creativity. We really didn't have a lot of creativity. Now, if, you know, I made a Homestuck comic, I will call it Camelot. And I will call it Camelot's based off all of the letters of my main characters. So we had Cammy Maxwell, Adam Swanson, Maria Halls, Emma Rosen, Lexi Randall, and Tony Scott. And the all could just be like a random letter, because practically, I don't know. I wanted it to be called Camelot because that's practically almost all of the names. It is all of the names of our main characters. And I just want to use this section of the video to ramble about my characters, because I'm telling you guys, like, I don't know if you can see. So I decided to lower the lighting of my room so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. But your girl was so serious. Alexa doesn't want to see me be great. But I was so serious about this Homestuck life. Like, it got to a certain point where me and my friends, while we were in class, we would literally write chat logs. We would literally write chat logs of what our characters would say. And I was also notorious in like the Homestuck fandom for making bases. If you guys don't know what bases are practically like the base. I'm sorry, what? It's like a foundation for you to draw on. And so I made bases because I was like struggling to like really do art, but I could make a good base. And yeah, I shared this character already, but her name is Lottie Bonnet or Bonite. It's supposed to be a play on that her guardian or her parents that raises her is a bunny, but literally I wanted to be a and V person, but I didn't have any talent. A tornado flew around my room before you came because she was our session's breath user, and look at her literally passing some gas. And so like I said in the description of Homestuck, everybody is supposed to have a like guardian spirit that guides them. And so this is Ballerina Sprite. This is supposed to be Mira's guardian sprite. She threw a bear. She threw a bear and a ballerina in there. Because, you know, the kids would just throw whatever into their sprite. And with Maria, that would literally be what it is for her. She would literally just throw in whatever she had on her bed for real. And then, I didn't mention this because I didn't feel like we had time. Every planet had their own imps that would attack them. And so we were like, her imp would be a ballerina imp. Because I'm pretty sure off the Homestuck lore, whatever you threw into your guardian is what the enemies of your planet would be. And I'm telling you, we was riding. And we even did concept arts of the spurb symbol. We called it the sklurb symbol because we wanted to be like everybody else who could actually draw an ish, but it really wasn't giving. And we also did like concepts of what everybody's worlds would be. They're very simplistic, and not everyone got one because we had a ridiculous amount of characters, but it was definitely given. Not only did we come up with a beta session, we came up with an alpha session. Even though we never finished the beta session, we wanted to be so serious, but we really couldn't. And so I'm going to be mentioning characters, and if I have available fan art, I'll put it up for you guys, because I don't talk to these people anymore. Because when I started this comic, you know, I was literally in middle school. I just got in contact with one of the girls recently, like maybe a month ago. I asked her if she had anything, and I kind of got left on red. So I feel like, you know, I'm gonna go tell my piece. I'm going to try to go through the characters from beta session to alpha session. So we have Emma Rosen, Ellis Styles, Adam Swanson, Alan Swanson, Mira Hales, Maya Jails. Don't ask me, y'all. Don't ask me. Lexi Randall, Leon Randall, Cammy Maxwell, Callie Maxwell, Tony Scott, and then Theo Scott. If I'm being so honest, the reason why we have 6 characters is because we made a lot of female characters and we were like, oh my god, in order to make it a good spurb game, you need to have an equal amount of genders, because, well, you need to have enough male and female people so they can, you know, be populate the earth. So we were like, damn it, we have to make men! We have to make men! And then we have a ridiculous amount of trolls. We wanted to be like Andrew Hussie so bad. So we have Lottie Bonnet, like I told you. Her ancestor slash descendant was Jakira Bonnet. Bonnet? Guys, I'm so sorry. Even I don't even know how to pronounce this. And their ancestor would have been the preacher. So Lottie, I made her a mage of breath, and then Jakira was a witch of breath. We tried to follow the Andrew Hussie baseline of having a troll from every class, but you could easily tell which characters we cared about and which characters we didn't care about. So we have Novice Acuti. He was the Bard of Time. I don't even think we drew fan out of him. Lalonde Priima and her descendants Raylan Savannah, and their ancestor would have been the Observer. Lalonde was a Witch of Time. Radlin was a Sylph of Time. I'm gonna be including pictures if I have pictures, because I really want y'all to know how serious we were. I'm gonna be including the link to the Homestuck Tumblr, because for some reason we didn't delete it, we left it up. And if you want to see how serious we were, like, you guys can go look at it for yourself. We have Acacia Acel and Faracia Acel. We didn't even give her an ancestor. And Acacia is a thief of rage, and Faraci is a mage of rage. Then we have Lilia Razil and Dakin Azil, and their ancestor was called the Shepherd or the Guardian. That was my personal character, and I'm very sure she was a void user, but I never gave them an actual class spec. And as I'm looking at this list, I'm just gonna go over the beta trolls, because it was super obvious that I didn't care about the characters as we went on. We have Lilia, we had Aurelio, he was a Prince of Mind. Talil, she was a Page of Light. Hayden Aobi, who was a Knight of Blood. Kamel Hansen, she was my girl. She was my fan insert because Kamel was a Slith of Void and Dakana was a Knight of Void. Okay, it's coming back to me. Then we have Profahi. Then we have Kodel, who was a space user. You needed to have a space and time user, y'all. That was one of the high key requirements, so we made sure to include that. Then we had Riveri, who was definitely dating Kamel. Then we had Amara, who was a Maid of Hope, and you could tell like we actually cared about her. And I just felt so bad because you could tell that we had so much passion towards the project, but it was getting to a point where everybody was so focused on their own characters, we couldn't make a cohesive story. Because I made so much stuff for Lottie, as you can see from her grub stage to what her room would look like. I did the same thing with Kamel. In fact, let me stop showing you guys pictures like this when I can literally just put the pictures on the screen. But you could tell that I was so serious. You could tell I was so serious. And I even made chat logs, and I gave everybody their own unique handle. Like, if you guys really want me to dive deep into it, I really can. I really can. I made gender bend stuff. Like, if you, I'm telling y'all, if y'all want a separate video where I actually don't waste time and I just dive deep, because I got 2 books worth and a whole Tumblr page, your girl was serious. And something that I noticed as I'm looking back at this stuff as an adult, Andrew Hussie never really let us know the races of these characters, right? A lot of people headcaned that all of the people were white, but I was like, that kind of doesn't make sense. If they're going to repopulate the earth, like, you mean to tell me all of them were white? And there was a segment of the population that was like, yes, especially after the lollipop bonanza where literally everybody turned into peach. And I was like, are they turning peach colored because they're white, or are they turning peach colored because they're literally infected with a, I don't even know what it was, like a virus? Because people are like, oh, they're white because they turned peach skin tone, and I'm like, I don't know about that, because they also turned rosy pink and their hair started to look like sugar cookies. And so I feel like that definitely affected us as kids, because all of these characters you may on the surface think that they're black. Like, for example, I had 2 self inserts. I had an insert that was really like me. Wait, I low-key had 3. You know, they say write what you know or whatever, but I had Cammy. Cammy was my hardcore insert with the mommy issue. And then there was Emma, who was what I imagined life could be if I still had contact with my older sister. And obviously I'm black, but if you look at these characters, do they give black to you? Because they honestly don't give black to me, especially Cammy with her ginger hair. At least for Emma, who, you know, is low-key my namesake, you could say she's just a black girl with a really good perm, because I had that ugly ugly perm back in the day, but it really went and infected us. But the lack of outright diversity really affected us, and I feel like we got more diversity in the trolls than we did in the humans, both in the alpha and the beta timeline, and overall it was a damn mess. Luckily for me, I wasn't really in any toxic fandoms as a kid, except for the My Little Pony fandom. But the Homestuck fandom, at least I didn't have people calling me slurs, you know? I know that is a wild thing to say, but like, yeah, I think it's because everybody was so focused on their own fan trolls and their own fan stuff, they didn't have it in them to be hateful. But let me get into the comments that y'all left on my Homestuck community post. So someone said, can you talk about how the epilogues were immediately declared non-canon and presented with the thesis that any sequel would be a disappointment and the future of the story should belong to the fans? Yeah, then we got a sequel anyway in a vast expanded universe, albeit largely produced by officially licensed fan creators. This commenter also said, as someone else mentioned, how former fans try to distance themselves and treat the story and fandom as cringe. This same person said, can you also talk about how the story reflects the late 2000s and early 2010s internet culture? Like I said, I never really finished Homestuck, so I can't speak too much on that. I can't speak too much on that because I been left before the series officially ended. So I don't know what to tell y'all. I really wish I had some Homestuck friends who at least finished so they could say their opinions, but I'm sorry, we all went our separate ways and we never really got that ending feeling. And as somebody who was a hardcore Homestuck and has the evidence and never deleted their Homestuck Tumblr page or whatever, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it was giving very cringe. Sorry about that, I need to reapply my lip gloss, but as someone who lives in her truth, I 100% cannot deny what I like. I'm sorry. I mean, I keep this stuff from people I know in my real life because they wouldn't understand. But when I talk to my friends who are actually my friends, they know who I am. They know who I am. Oh, this is from Hariana Hook Shop. I forgot what color it is because I've been using it like a lot all day as I've been filming. But yeah, I have to live in my truth. Like, honestly, a lot of the things I like are extremely cringe. Homestuck, it is what it is. Steven Universe, it is what it is. You know how many people will comment on my stuff like, you 22 still liking Winx Club? Yes. You can call me Grandmare for all you know, and I'll still be talking about the things I like. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what you want from me. Like, honestly, there are some things that the Homestuck fandom did that were extremely cringe, but they didn't hurt anyone, so I don't think it's that serious. I honestly really don't. Maybe it's because I also wasn't really in with the other people. It was just me and my friends who were like really close and had our own inner circle that I don't really see like the extreme cringe, you know, like, because I think of, oh yeah, you like weird stuff cringe, and then there's people who like go above and beyond, like, you know, the people who used to moan in class and you have to look at them like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, those are the spectrum of cringe, and I don't think Homestuck, at least the way I experienced Homestuck, was there, you know. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And yes, I really do feel like the Homestuck fandom was really reflective of the early 2000s and the early 2010s culture, because I feel like I'm a relatively really young person, and so when I got into Homestuck, there were just a lot of references I didn't get, like Insane Clown Posse, Con Air kept being a thing that was mentioned, and I'm like, what the hell is this? The kind of, somebody mentioned in my comments they had a lot of weird racist elements that maybe I would notice now that I'm starting to reach self-actualization, but I didn't see that. Like the fact that someone said that Obama was like our first black president, I don't remember that happening, because all of my friends who were into Homestuck were black women. So like, I feel like that's something we would have noticed, especially since there wasn't any like I'm black and I'm proud representation. I feel like we would have remembered that, but you know, memory, it comes and it goes. I don't know how much to tell you about that. Okay, so now let's read the second section of comments. So this is all from one person, by the way. Someone said, as a semi-fan of the series, I feel like the way people label this as a cringe fandom is particularly related to ableism against neurodivergent people. However, the use of slurs in black culture by a white male creator could be explored as well. Also, I do believe Homestuck had a huge impact on our relationship in modern queer fandom culture, and definitely a fandom culture. And so, like I said, according to one of the other people who commented, Andrew Hussie came out using like they them pronouns, so that's what I'm going to use. I don't think the second commenter knew that, so I'm not going to hold it against them. them, but I do have to say that the Homestuck fandom as well as the My Little Pony fandom was my first introduction to like relationships that aren't straight, because I'm telling y'all, if y'all know me, I came from an ultra conservative Christian household. I don't even gotta explain it to y'all, I seriously don't. But this was my first time seeing, I don't even know if it was non-binary ships. I don't think we had gotten there, but when I was growing up and I practically saw all of the ships, like let me think Vriska and Terezi, Kanaya and Rose, Jake and Dirk. I didn't see no ships like that. Because, you know, conservative Christian vibes. So being exposed to that stuff really young kind of desensitized me from all of the rampant homophobia that, you know, you would think I would have from being raised in my surroundings. Because, you know, growing up Christian, it's like, oh, people would say like that's an abomination. Like you know, I don't even have to explain this to y'all, but like being in the Homestuck fandom and really loving the Homestuck fandom really let me know like, yeah, like I don't see the problem, especially since the gay ships and like the lesbian ships and like the everything in between, for real, but also directly for the kids too. I felt like that was really eye-opening for me, and this kind of information was being given to me at a very young age. I don't know, it just like kind of desensitized me to all of like the negativity that has grown in fandom spaces. The third person who commented wrote a lot. The third person wrote a lot, and I'm just gonna put it on the screen for you guys because they talked about Homestuck as a multimedia art form, as well as talking about the story elements as well. And I already know editor me is going to kill me. You'll see it on the screen. I need to stop doing that. But I want to talk about what is going on now as a resurgence. So I just saw that Coley Does Things did a video talking about getting into Homestuck in 2024, and I was like, girl, like I don't know what happened that practically led everybody to hop onto Homestuck, but like it is literally a mess. I'm like, what happened? Like it's literally like the Homestuck fandom has slowly started to dig itself out of the grave, and I just don't know what happened. Because I was literally on Twitter and I literally saw somebody having their own Homestuck AU, Homestuck fan kid in the year 2024, and what shocked me more than that was the fact that this person was actually making their fan kids canonically a person of color. Like I don't know if the character was supposed to be black or maybe Indian, but they were a dark-skinned POC. And I was just so shocked because, like I said, inclusion of race for the kids specifically in Homestuck was not a thing. And so this caused me to really search for these. These were under my bed. Like I had to blow the dust off of these, and it had me really thinking about race. It had me thinking about my younger self. It really had me thinking. And it's just like all at once, everybody just started to get back into Homestuck. Let me know if you know if there was some secret Homestuck lore that dropped. I know 413 passed like last month, but all of the fan art that I saw was definitely before that. And it's just so amazing to see that even though it's been years, people are still so interested in Homestuck. Like it really makes me feel so nostalgic. Like, man, I low-key want to start another fan comic. Especially now that I've graduated on my hashtag Big RN journey. I really want to get back into Homestuck. There is a channel that was notorious in the Homestuck fandom for specifically dubbing the comic. My friend Dami. Hi Dami. She was like asking me like how to get into it, and I want to recommend it to her. Because when I was practically doing the research for this video, I saw that they went on a huge hiatus. So just recently they started posting up. Like I don't know if it's the age of Aquarius that has everybody wanting to get back into Homestuck, but it's just so shocking to see. Like good for us going back to our childhood fandoms. Like I made a video like a while back, but they even bringing back Winx Club for real this time. For real, they is. So it straight up turns out that I just didn't record an outro for this video, which I find absolutely ridiculous and unlike me. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching up until this point. It means a lot. For those who got to this point, please comment the bucket emoji so I know you're a real one. I'm so glad that I was finally able to talk about Homestuck, because as you can see, I was really deep into the fandom. I really was. I just can't wait to talk to you guys in the comments. I feel like the comment section for this one is really going to be popping off. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next deep dive. Bye.